Hey fans of the Vampire Diaries, this is Mel again, and I'm going to talk about episode 620 titled I'd Leave My Happy Home for You that aired April 30th, 2015. And what an episode, guys. I'm still floored by what happened, and it hasn't even been an hour yet since it ended. So the Bachelor and Bachelorette parties were supposed to be all that was planned for the night with our characters, and yet they got more than that. Let's just get right into what I liked about the episode. My first favorite part for me has to be Damon and Elena. It just has to be. And while I don't like the idea of Elena being human again, because we already extinguished that plot point back in season 4, she takes the cure anyways and gets all her memories back of Damon. That is what I loved, because with the flood of memories we get a Delena montage. As fans, we get to see which memories are emphasized for Elena as she relives them again. We see many of our favorite Delena moments, although very rapidly, like their many kisses together, the Mystic Falls dance, her birthday, their first official post-compulsion date that they talked about going on back in 6/12, around the time they worried about the merger happening. And then we even got to see the 4/13 scene on the island when Damon tells Elena that what he truly thinks about taking the cure. It was just fantastic to see Elena loving Damon at full capacity again, something we haven't seen since Olark compelled her back in 602. Now, I just dread what this human vampire status will do to Damon and Elena now that they are in it. Elena repeatedly tells Damon to truly think about his offer before he takes the cure from her, because once Damon takes it, he can't become a vampire again. And that's where the two of them left off in this episode. And in regards to this topic, though, of Damon, Elena, and the cure, I love that Joe viewed Damon's offer to take the cure for Elena as a vampire proposal for marriage, basically. And I also love that Damon called Bonnie first when Elena flaked out on him after he offered to take the cure with her. Damon called Bonnie first. That's what I focused on, because I do love the Damon friendship that has been progressing this season between them. And we didn't really get to see Stefan fully react to Damon's decision, since they had to worry about Lily. But I can't wait to see that. We only got a glimpse of it behind Mystic Grill, but I can't wait till it's fully explored in the next episode. Anyways, Alark is definitely worried for Damon too. And rightfully so. Glad to see some Damon Alark heart-to-heart in this episode, because it's definitely been missing since the Christmas, basically. And speaking of Alark, he and Joe find out today, thanks to Lily, of all people, that they are expecting twins. Now, many people predicted this because Joe is a twin herself, and because she's part of this witch coven that focuses on twins. So I'm not truly surprised by the news, and yet I'm thrilled that it's now part of canon, if that makes sense. Anyways, I am surprised that no other vampire picked up on the double heartbeats in Joe's womb like Lily had done. So that was a little weird. But while the news of twins coming being great news and all for this expecting couple, Joe now fears that not only will Kai be after her, because she is going to be giving birth to the next potential leader of the coven, but now the Gemini coven itself would be after her too, because the twins are meant to be groomed to take over the coven's leadership role. So with this new worry, Alark suggests that he and Joe run away and go into hiding after the wedding, because Matt had told Alark at the bachelor party that it would be wise for Alark to take his human family and get as far away from their supernatural infested town as possible. I'm actually surprised that no one has thought to leave town yet because of this fact. I mean, it's true. And while as a viewer, I don't want to lose any of these characters, but that would be the most logical thing to do as a human character on this show. Get out of Dodge, of a town that's such a danger magnet, you know? And maybe that's how Elena leaves the show. And if Alaric is thinking about leaving town, then maybe he won't be a series regular for season 7, and we just got him back. Whatever it is, we definitely need more Damon and Alaric scenes if Alaric does decide to leave town. That's a must. I just wanted to say this little segment quickly before I get right into anything else. But did you notice that Joe's bachelorette party consisted of her student and that student's roommate? I mean, we're all her coworker friends, or we're her adult friends who aren't students. It's like, where are they? And did Bonnie even meet Joe before this party happened? I mean, it's kind of sad when you think about it. Although the enthusiasm was there for sure. And did you catch the double meaning that Elena had when she told Lily not to drink from her? Initially, I thought it was self-preservation. But then I remembered that if Lily drank Elena's blood, then she'd be drinking the cure out of Elena, which is what Damon wanted to do. So in a way, if Lily did drink from Elena, she would be cured, but then Elena runs the risk of getting her head ripped off by Ripper Lily, so there's that. And also, did you get the feeling that Enzo is the group gossip now? He always finds a way to learn about something, and then he tells someone who he thinks should know about it. And yet he's had only 2 scenes with Damon this whole season, and I was disappointed we didn't get to see Enzo prying a drunk Alaric for the cured Damon news. When he mentioned that, I wished that we got to see it. So that's the end of my short news segment. Now on to the rest. Now I want to mention the fight between Matt and Tyler briefly. It seems like Tyler's finally come to his senses about how being a cop would be a very bad thing for him, since it would put him at more of a risk to trigger his werewolf curse than any other job in Mystic Falls. Matt doesn't believe that. He simply thinks that Tyler just needs to work on his self-control. I was so frustrated with Matt after he said that. He made it sound like Tyler's supernaturally charged rage issues could be easily fixed with some training. I mean, I get the importance of self-control, and to some extent Matt is right, but if I were Tyler, I would not want to risk putting myself in a situation where I could trigger the curse. I mean, it's hard enough to go through your day without accidentally triggering it, but if you have a job that constantly puts you at risk of doing just that, why put yourself through that? And as Tyler's best friend, Matt should not want Tyler to risk triggering that curse. It just seemed more like Matt was being selfish in the fact that he wanted Tyler to be in this police academy thing with him, than being a supportive friend and knowing that Tyler can't make that risk of triggering his curse. That was my thought about those two. Enough about them. Now let's move to Enzo. Enzo's appearance is centered around Lily's Ripper spiral in this episode, but he briefly talks to Damon, finally, about the cure, but then he goes to Stefan in regards to Lily. Enzo seems to be protective of Lily, even though he knows that she needs a lot of help. However, Lily isn't giving up, and she's all over the place. She's determined to save her heretic family from 1903, but then, because she doesn't want to be alone, but then she's even thinking of staking herself to end it all so that she doesn't risk being lonely again. And then she goes off and attacks her own sons. She snapped Damon's neck. She was about to stake Stefan in the shoulder from what it looks like. And then she's hunting down a human Elena. And then she's went and almost attacked a pregnant Joe before she even learned that she was pregnant. And I truly thought that Lily would have been too far gone to stop attacking a pregnant woman. But thankfully I was wrong about that. But still, it's like she's everywhere. This hunger is truly making her unstable in any way possible. She's one thing and then the next. It's a roller coaster with her. And despite Stefan's attempts of appealing to the mother he wishes was still inside of Lily, and he even tries to form bonds with her through their Ripper tendencies that they share, it turns out that Damon's plan to lock Lily up in the cellar is the one they go with, and it only happens when the brothers work together. Now they just have to keep her down there. I have a feeling she won't be down there for long, and with that threat she made to Stefan about how he'll feel true devastation soon, and I'm shaking my head at this, but what mother does that? It's just, I think her craziness gone to the head, and the whole maternal instinct she should have had, they should have been heightened when she turned into a vampire, but apparently that's not the case with her. Anyways, then there's Bonnie, who tries to protect Joe from Lily at the diner, but Lily gets the best of her despite Bonnie trying to use magic against her. But the fact that Bonnie can still get mortally wounded kind of dampers the fact that she has all this power. Anyways, while trying to stop the bleeding, Joe and Bonnie try to reassure each other that the other is safe. That Joe worries over Bonnie's bleeding neck, while Bonnie reassures Joe that Kai won't escape the 1903 prison world, which is something that Lily is trying to get into. However, the episode ends with Kai and the awake heretic hybrids. Kai is more determined than ever to get out, and it seems like he knows how, and I don't think anyone realizes in the present day reality that Kai does have the capabilities to get out of that 1903 prison world, even though they have done everything to make sure that none of them could go back there. I hope that made sense. But, correct me if I'm wrong, but the prison world's Ascendant is still active in the present world, even though Bonnie destroyed the present day Ascendant, because the Ascendant is the only object that can't be carried between the two worlds. There's one in the prison world, and then there's one in the present day real world. Am I correct? Elena brought back an old photo of Damon from 1903 prison world, and then Bonnie brought back the cure from 1994's prison world. And yet when they first traveled to the 1903 prison world, they had to look for that Ascendant when they arrived in order to use it to get back to the present day. And even when Damon used the Ascendant first to go back to reality, the Ascendant didn't leave with him. It stayed behind. So with that said, Kai has the spell he needs. He has the Ascendant. And then when it comes to magic, he could easily siphon it off of the heretic hybrids that siphon their own magic from themselves due to their vampirism. So theoretically, Kai has everything he needs to return to reality. And I think he's only staying in the prison world at the moment, because who knows how long it's been for him actually. But I think he's taking his time to gather his strength, because he definitely looks slightly different. He looked a bit more mature, or maybe because we haven't seen him in a while, or it seems like we haven't seen him in a while, but that's what I felt like when I first saw him at the end. And I don't know whether Kai is a hybrid too at this point or not. It wasn't as if the vampire face showed up at the end, just as like a flickering thing. But it would make sense if the heretic hybrids had kept him human, so that he could be their willing blood source until they escaped, since their last jar of blood was smashed to bits when the others came to get Lily. But I'm definitely excited to see how Kai returns to the present day real world, and it'll probably be during Joe's wedding. That's the chaos a happy TV moment needs. It'll be interesting to learn more about who the other heretics really are as well. And with that said, I've already gone into predictions, so let's move forward with that. First off, the synopsis for episode 22, titled I'll Wed You in the Golden, is as follows. It's Alaric and Joe's wedding day, and Elena and Bonnie do their best to help a stressed out Joe with the last minute preparations. After uncovering some life-changing news that Damon has been keeping from him, Stefan takes his brother on a road trip to give him some perspective on his future with Elena. Elsewhere, when Caroline returns to Mystic Falls after dealing with the fallout of her humanity-free rampage, she begins making amends with her friends and comes to a realization about her and Stefan's prospects of being together. Finally, when Bonnie begins having vivid nightmares that Lily is coming after her, she enlists Matt's help in taking Lily down. Tyler and Enzo are also set to appear, And with that said, after seeing the first promo for the episode, the road trip the Salvatore brothers go on is, I believe, a compelled one in Damon's mind, as Stefan forces Damon to see what a human life could be like for him, and the promo doesn't show a happy human life for Damon. From the promo, it seems like everyone is going to either talk Damon out of taking the cure, or they are going to support him. But this episode didn't end with Elena wanting Damon to have everybody tell him whether or not to take the cure or not. To, I think, have them all talk him out of it, and then if he still wants to, then go ahead. Or if not, we'll see. The promo didn't even show anything about the wedding, which I thought was odd, since that's the main focus of the episode. Apparently it's not. But I wonder if the extended promo will show something for the wedding, since but this is being recorded before it's released, so I can only wonder. So Caroline returns in time for the wedding, it seems, and I hope she's not the only one. Jeremy better come back to town for Lark's wedding. He can stop his vampire hunt long enough to go to the wedding of the man who tried to be his guardian, you know? We do see Joe's father and sister back, and if you remember, they hadn't been seen since Luke's death, just at the start of the new year, so. And in regards to Bonnie's nightmares about Lily, they could be premonitions, like the one she got at the very beginning of the series, like in episode 103, when she saw indirect visions of Coach Tanner's death. I don't know how Matt is going to help her out, but they seem to be partnering up more, it seems. And as I said it earlier, but I'll say it again, I think Kai is going to crash the wedding. Whether he does it before or after the vows, I don't know, but I think he'll make his big entrance there. Now, for my overall predictions for the remainder of the season, it'll be focusing on Kai, Lily, and the Heretic Hybrids, because I see them as the villains of this final arc of the season. The side plot would be the cure and what truly happens to Damon and Elena because of it. Also because we have to pave the road for Nina Dobrev's departure. So, there's that. But here's a thought, guys. What happens if word gets out that Elena is back to being a human doppelganger again? Can Klaus still use her blood to make hybrids, or did the deaths of Silas and Amara eliminate the doppelganger magic in it? I think Elena is still an active doppelganger because the Travelers still used doppelganger blood after both Silas and Amara were dead. What do you think? Did curing herself make Elena a target once again? And I'll leave it on that note. Thank you guys for watching this. I truly appreciate it. And I hope you guys comment below about your own thoughts about the episode or what you predict is going to happen next. I always like talking about the Vampire Diaries with fellow fans, so don't be shy to share. Don't forget to like this video or subscribe to my channel. Until next time, have a great day, everyone. Bye.